After concluding the biggest mainstream program of the era last night, ending with Vince McMahon leaving Detroit with a bald head, the fallout of WrestleMania saw the company getting a massive round of media coverage not seen since perhaps The Rock vs. Hogan WrestleMania 18 match 5 years earlier, with every major news and entertainment TV show and written publication in the past 24 hours showing the footage of Trump taking down McMahon with a clothesline, followed by the haircut segment minutes later, with Trump and McMahon in his first ever public appearance with a bald head after decades on screen, closing the program for Now on Monday morning, with both appearing together as guests on NBC's Today Show to put over the event while also leaving the door open for a potential rematch in the future, with big anticipation now turning to the early estimates over the next several weeks to see if the feud also matched expectations in the box office, with a record number of worldwide pay-per-view buys for WrestleMania 23. Opening Raw with the follow-up of the WWE title match, with John Cena coming out to major heat after going over Shawn Michaels clean in the final match of the night, confronted by Michaels a minute later saying that usually he would come out and put over the match while congratulating the winner but not tonight, taking shots at Hulk Hogan and Bret Hart, saying that it's not about screwjobs or massive egos, while telling Cena that despite the result it was clear to everybody watching that he was the better performer, setting up a potential rematch with Raw for the WrestleMania Fallout and Michaels-Cena confrontation in the first quarter, kicking off Raw with one of the biggest opening audiences of the past several years with a 4.2 rating and over 5.7 million viewers. Continuing the opening segment, Raw's first match of the night saw Coach coming out to book Cena and Michaels to defend the tag belts in an unusual start to the broadcast, with two back-to-back 10-man battle royals for the tag titles, perhaps anticipating the massive curiosity audience tuning in from the start, coming off the pay-per-view, with the company looking to load up the first hour with Michaels and Cena out for the majority of it, with the second hour set to be focused mainly on the follow-up of the Battle of the Billionaires match, with the first segment, which included the opening promo followed by the two battle royals, going over the first 35 minutes of the show through 3 commercial breaks to slightly pick up from the big start to hover around the 6 million viewers range, with Michaels, who was heavily cheered over Cena during the WrestleMania match in a result that could have gone either way, as Cena retaining or Michaels getting one more run after catching strong momentum in the past several months, ending up doing the clean job in a spot that was originally set up to be Triple H getting his win back over Cena to win the title, with the feud continuing on the night, with Michaels, after winning the first 10-man battle royal to retain the tag belts, turning on Cena again to cost himself the match, with the Hardys winning the tag belts for the first time in 6 years at the end of the two matches, going combined over 18 minutes. Raw's first hour, and traditionally one of the most watched broadcasts of the year for the WrestleMania Fallout, with the majority of it on the night featuring the Michaels vs. Cena follow-up, seeing it after the past day of massive coverage for the event, jumping big to average over 5.8 million viewers, one of the most watched hours of Raw since the move back to the USA Network, and the second most watched 9 to 10 p.m. hour since the October 3, 2005 Homecoming show, only behind the 6 million viewers first hour on February 26 earlier this year, taken to the next level in the final quarter for the most anticipated segment of the night, with the reveal of a bald Vince McMahon for the first time on WWE television, and with most usual Raw viewers not watching the morning show earlier in the day. Vince walked out with a hat saying that April 1, 2007 will go down as a travesty and nobody is gonna see him bald again, with the result of last night's match officially deleted from the history books, ordering Lillian to announce himself as the winner of the Battle of the Billionaires, with talks about a rematch or at least a follow-up angle with Trump talked about during the week in anticipation of the record pay-per-view number, with the company going all out in the lead-up to the show with the biggest advertising budget in its history, promoting the event through all forms of media, telling the crowd that if anyone tuned in to see him with a bald head tonight, he's happy to disappoint them as his hat is not coming off until his hair grows back. Booking the main event for later tonight with a WrestleMania rematch of Lashley vs Umaga to set up the angle, with Lashley coming out for the response seconds from 10 p.m., taking off Vince's hat to a massive reaction to reveal his bald head for the first time in a comedic chase, continuing the McMahon vs Lashley program past the Trump angle in hopes of Lashley getting the rub from the exposure of the past month to be elevated into a top-drawing player, with the bald McMahon reveal segment going over 2 quarters from the end of the first hour to the start of the second, 3 minutes past 10 p.m., gaining big to a quarter-high 4.6 rating with over 6.4 million viewers, with this segment which likely peaked huge above the 7 million viewers range for the duration of it, despite only going 10 minutes, strong enough to carry a full half hour of the show with 2 straight 4.6 quarters from 9:45 to 10:15 p.m. With all the focus in the company on the main shows throughout WrestleMania weekend, from the Hall of Fame to the event itself to tonight's Raw, a side story that seemed to stir things up in the company saw Carlito in an interview during the weekdays before the show, complaining publicly about him and Ric Flair being left off the WrestleMania pay-per-view, with Flair and Carlito, who were originally booked on the main card either in a singles match between them or a tag match, ending up working the dark match in a tag against Helms and Chavo minutes before the show went on the air, with Carlito in the interview saying that he's out of WrestleMania due to the company making time for the Kane vs Khali and Melina vs Ashley matches, sarcastically saying that if he was playing politics and willing to talk to the right people he would have been on the show, but there's always next year, saying that it's disrespectful to Ric Flair to be left off the pay-per-view, with Flair who publicly acknowledged this next year being his final full-time run, not commenting on the situation with Flair reportedly told twice that he was working the pay-per-view before the last-minute change, with Raw after the strong first hour climbing further on the back of the McMahon-Lashley Umaga follow-up to over 5.9 million viewers, seeing Edge making his first appearance of the night just before the main event, selling the injury for the major Jeff Hardy ladder spot from last night, putting himself in line for a WWE title shot similar to Orton confronting Michaels earlier in the show to set up a potential 4-way match. Lashley vs Umaga in the rematch of the Battle of the Billionaires 24 hours later, was placed in one of the highest-profile Raw main events of the year on the day after WrestleMania, with both performers after the massive mainstream coverage from the Trump-McMahon promotion over the past month set for the biggest test of their careers to see if the exposure from the program worked in elevating them into bigger drawing stars to the regular WWE audience, given away on television, with the top money match now shifting towards Lashley vs McMahon. Seeing the match going 10 minutes into the overrun in front of a flat atmosphere, not helped by JR losing his voice over the broadcast, to see Lawler gradually going solo with JR completely off by the main event, ending up with Lashley going over to continue the momentum from last night with the match despite dragging in front of the live crowd, in a strong sign for both performers picking up strong on television to jump over 700,000 viewers to a peak 4.9 rating with 6.4 million viewers in one of the most watched segments of the year, and after the slide of the past 2 weeks driving the post-WrestleMania Raw back to one of the most watched shows in years with close to 5.9 million total viewers, with the big test now that the Trump-McMahon feud and overall WrestleMania hype is over of how much of the viewership boost of the past 2 months the company would be able to maintain for the rest of the year.